Without further ado, I just again want to thank everybody for being so supportive of these online sessions. This is our second of the series from A Greener Space Builds. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. It's going to be a really full hour. So as you come in, make sure that you hold your questions for the end. You are more than welcome to put those into the chat because Laurel will be helping to field those questions at the end. Also, if you want to put in the chat where you're calling from, if you have experience with bamboo, maybe some fun facts that you would like to share, we'll try to get to all of those as we go through the presentation today. I'm Anjanette Green. I'm the owner of A Greener Space Builds. And again, like I said, this is part of our online series. They're free. The next one will be coming up next month. So we're happy to see everybody, familiar faces from the first online session and those who may be joining for the first time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly talk about A Greener Space Builds, what we're doing as a team of innovative builders and why we decided we were going to do this. We're here to challenge the building industry's reliance on carbon-intensive construction, and we really want to introduce a new way of building that features bio-based and mineral-based and low-carbon materials. So if anybody has been introduced to me and my work as a consultant, you know that I have been dedicating most of my career to helping project teams, but now I've decided that I would like to be the ones with the projects to help promote a different way of building. So there's plenty of room for those who want to join in, and I hope we get you excited about that and how you can join us in the presentation today. We have a lot of partners that are helping us with this charge. Everyone from expertise in whole building LCA, low carbon construction, energy modeling. A few of those folks are here on the screen and on the call today. If you'd like to reach out to them and find out what their involvement is, please do. But more than that, we would love to have more people join us. This is something we can't do alone. So if you're interested, please don't hesitate to reach out. And we, of course, have a fabulous team. Hopefully everybody is on the call today. You can have questions to them directly. Again, I'm the owner. Miguel Vazquez is our instructor for bamboo. He's the one that you're here for today. Eduardo Barba with Rammed Earth and Santiago, also Rammed Earth experts, are going to be speaking next month. Ashley Javogue, who hails from Costa Rica. Bob Green, structural engineer. Laurel, who's on our call, helping us with everything, not just community liaison. Chris Yosef is the newest member of our team, who's helping us with biogenic carbon and materials assessments. Roberto Valle is our project director, and we also have another announcement for a team member in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. And with that, I have the sincere pleasure of introducing Miguel Vazquez Camacho, who's going to be speaking today. He's an architect and a natural builder, a bamboo specialist, and a visual artist. And he has more than a decade of experience in natural building and regenerative architecture. I've had the sincere pleasure of working with Miguel on site, and I can't say enough about him. He specializes in the design and construction of structures using bamboo. That is a huge understatement. But he also specializes in other materials such as compressed earth, adobe, super adobe. He combines traditional knowledge with contemporary design to create spaces that are environmentally responsible and aesthetically distinctive. And if you looked at any of the images prior to this call, his designs are truly one of a kind. He's led and collaborated on projects throughout Mexico, specifically in the Yucatan, also in southern regions, and participated in international initiatives and workshops in Germany, Colombia, Dominican Republic. He's the founder of Mystical and Siembra Arquitectura, and he promotes education, innovation, cross-cultural exchange through workshops, research, and hands-on construction. I could not be more happy to let him take it from here.
Thank you so much. I am really happy to be here sharing this information that I really love and it's my passion to do. And I hope you enjoy it as I do. First of all, I know that few of you have experience in bamboo. Thank you so much, Anjanette, for the beautiful introduction. And I am going to share this synthesized information because it's a lot to talk about bamboo. We won't finish in 1 hour for sure, not even maybe in a month. It's like a really really big topic to get deep in. If you are keen or you're interested in to go deeper in information, you will get a long list of information that will like really surprising when you start like deep in and deep. Bamboo, it's like one of the best materials I ever worked with since I learned how to do it in very different ways. So you will see a few images on how it can turn into beautiful outcomes aesthetically and also structurally. So we can start with the first impressions on bamboo. It's like a thing, or maybe at least what I thought before when I was to know the material. I thought it was like more similar to the trees or to other plants. While it's not, it is grass. It is more related to the grass than to the trees, to the common trees that we see. And it's been with us like since the beginning of civilization mainly. It is a plant that has been with the humans going around us since we started using tools or we started using it as shelter to create some shelter to our early ancestors. So with that said, material has been proved like more than many other industrial or more common materials right now. I always say that it's funny how we think that the conventional materials is that the ones that we are using a lot today, like the concrete or the iron or whatever, which they are like the youngest materials that humanity has been using. These materials, such as timber, such as bamboo, is being with us like really long time. So the possibilities also are like huge because there is not only this generation working with it, it's been generations working and improving the techniques that can lead to the architecture that we can see today in all around the world because it has this particularity that it grows almost all over the world. Only in like the really cold places, it's hard to get it. But in most of the world, you can find some species, different species of the bamboo. So it's like really interesting how it's been with us. And in this past century, it went down because people started looking at industrial materials, which were promoted as safer, stronger, and long lasting. Nevertheless, the bamboo is capable of doing all of them, and of course, as in everything, as much as you do it properly. That's why we are like interested on sharing this information because when you do proper building with bamboo, you can last for almost forever. You know, like the construction or the pieces that we can build with it. So we can go to the next slide. So this has been a creation material since the beginning, as I was saying. Not only for shelter, it was mainly used for tools, for the daily life tools. Basically, most of it in Asia, it has survived centuries, and the people are still using it. Actually, most of the people in Southeast Asia, they use it more than plastic still. Of course, plastic is taking its place, but we have been using it for more than 7,000 years that have been registered on the Chinese history and archaeology that we can find. So it's been with us like a lot of time, and I always like to say that we can we can expand the capabilities of the material, and we can see it like if they are useful, like to do this kind of daily lifestyle tools, they can also create huge structures using like the same principles. Bamboo has many qualities. One of their most recognized quality is the flexibility, and at the same time the strength that it has. It was designed by nature to hold and to resist like strong winds, strong hurricanes, many natural challenges, to keep them like tall and still. If we use it in a way, you can like create like more structured buildings. It can last like more than we think. It is called also like the nature steel or the natural steel. I mean, everything is natural, but I mean like the process, the steel or iron, you will have like to have like a really aggressive process to make it as we know it, to have the resistance that we know that is known for. But with bamboo, you just have to work with the natural and the way it behaves on the wild, let's say. So mainly, it has, I was saying, it is related to the grass. So it is composed by many little fibers, like millions of fibers, that makes it really, really, really strong. Of course, we will know, and then I will explain a little bit on how you can use this flexibility in order to have this strength and to avoid normal use that misuse that leads to some of the mistakes that we can have during the construction with the bamboo. So mainly the thing is to learn how it works so we can use it on our favor. So as you can see, and I like to put this image because I think as the structure that we develop as huge baskets because they can hold a lot of things like they're like really strong. And now imagine like holding a space. It's like a knitting structure that makes it like really strong. You will see in the next slides how this kind of knitting that you see, they can become like really big structures. So I like to call it our nuestro viejo amigo, the old friend, the bamboo, because it's been with us, as I told you, like since the beginning. You can see all around the world, like the vernacular architecture made out of bamboo. Sadly, it was related to poverty in the last century. It was related poverty, so people started like turning against it because they related with low development, with poor conditions, and the people that used to be proud of living in this, or at least not feeling bad about living in a bamboo structure, they started feeling that they were left behind. So in most of the world, it started to disappear, these techniques. And along with this disappearance, the master handcrafts and workers that had been doing it for so long, they started also to disappear. Also, this have a lot to do with the mass migration from the countryside to the big cities, that people just started to forget about it. And as we all know, since the the construction industry started like to take all over the world with this only two options, let's say, like to feel safe, such as the concrete or iron, it was just left behind for a while. So the good thing is that it wasn't like completely abandoned. We can still see that most of the people in the world, they live under natural building shelters still. Even though the numbers have decreased a lot, there are still a lot of people living in this kind of structure that for most of the people, they don't have the monetary capabilities to hire a team of engineers or architects. So most of people, they build by themselves. And as a social animal that we are, we've been doing the same as ants or the same as some other animals that just build their shelter, but in a huge different way, since we are like these really sensible, intelligent beings. And this is what amazed me the most, because sometimes we need like to go so high in technology developments and to find all kind of studies to prove some material, then we realize that this ancestral knowledge has been having it all, maybe not by written rules or by written instructions on how to do it, but the material is still standing there and is still being used. And of course, it can start to grow as a new old technique, because we can go back and have a lot of information how to build with it, just to go and research on how people is still using it and learn a lot with it. And one of the biggest changes that happened in recent years, it was that in Colombia, it was developed the technique to immunize the bamboo. So the main problems that they used to have is since it's like an abundant material, people people have also abundant time back then. The natural buildings are always alive. They always need changes. It's not like you just build one house and then you forget about it for 50 years and then you have to call an expert to do it yourself. Most of the time in history, people used to build their own houses and continue to give maintenance to these buildings and to teach their kids like to how to do it so they can keep a safe and secure shelter for their families and even to grow it. So it used to be like that. So it was like really abundant material. So it was, if some pieces got rotten, it was really easy to change it and just replace it with another and newer bamboo frame or piece. Since the Colombians developed this technique on how to immunize it, this system became even better because then, since we don't have the time that our ancestors used to have, it makes the bamboo like easily to be maintained and you don't have to replace it anymore as it used to be. So you can have secure structures that will have minimum maintenance the proper ways. So it gives a big advantage for the new generation of bamboo builders. So it led the next pictures that I will show you, where you can see the advance on how we used to only use the poles and to make basic structures, like to make these completely organic and different and hard to do structures, but it's the same material. It's the same material, it's just a different presentation. It has the advantage of technology on having the proper chemicals which don't harm the nature either. So it's mainly boron salts, makes bamboo is no longer likely to get bugs or some other things that may hurt it. The worst enemy of bamboo structures are humidity and direct sunlight, which can also be solved with a different kind of products that are available all over the world. It's similar to varnish, you will see, and it's also an invitation for, as I told you, like it's going to be like really hard to synthesize everything about bamboo in 1 hour, but I'm sure that you will be curious enough like to start making research on all the possibilities that can be done. Also, it's very important to mention that not every bamboo is suitable for construction. We have like wild bamboo that you can find it all over the world, and sometimes those are like just regular bamboo, let's call it, and they are not going to be suitable for building. The species that are suitable for building are like recognized by area, and you can find them nowadays. For example, here in Mexico, since we have like a really good weather conditions all over the country, we can find most of the species of bamboo, of building bamboo, right now in Mexico, because they've been here like for a while, more than 50 years than the building species were brought from Asia and from Southern America, especially Colombia. But also we have vernacular or original bamboo species in Mexico called otate that is also really strong. So we can find it. How can you tell that the bamboo is strong enough to build with? You will see in their walls. They are, as you say, as you know, or maybe if you don't know, they look like straws. Like the straws. They have like this wall all over, and then they are like empty in the inside. They are like a cylinder, and the width of these walls, they will tell you how strong are they. And then mainly the main species are Asian, because Asians stopped building with bamboo never, mainly like for frames, for scaffoldings, for provisional structures, and even for industrial panels. Like in China, they are using bamboo like all over, like to have laminated pieces, like to flooring, for cladding, for many uses, walls, whatever. But here in America, mainly in Mexico, because it's where I'm based, we can find the more abundant Colombian species, such as the guava angustifolia, which is like the best known bamboo species to work with. We have to thank that to the Colombian architects that in early 70s, they started using and taking this architecture to the next level, because they were the ones that they had it in Colombia. They saw this problem. They say like, hey, people is not getting proper housing, and we have a lot of bamboo all over the mountains, so why not use it? So the people start saying, like, as I told you, like, hey, we don't want to look like we are poor. We want to share wealth, like to show. Sorry, not we are not poor anymore. That we are civilized and we have enough money to build something strong and durable. So when they started like doing these structures, that they were also proven, because there are like many towns such as Manizales that they have like really old, even public buildings such as the cathedrals or governmental buildings. They start showing those examples and telling the people, hey, why don't you trust the material? And as I was telling you, they even developed this immunization techniques that gave enough confidence to the engineers, some academic people, so they can certify that it was going to last and they are not going to put in risk the lives of the people while building with this material. So this was like a huge breakthrough in the industry. Of course, it came to Mexico afterwards, and then it started spreading all around. And also, as you may know, that the main examples nowadays are the ones in Southeast Asia, like Bali, Thailand, the Philippines, and all these countries that have also this material in abundance. And they are like doing crazy things, no? Like the architects became like really creative about it. And then we started like saying, doing these amazing structures that you weren't able to see before, and now we can be able to build it. So that's like a really good thing. Also, the main properties that I also like to highlight about the bamboo is this capability that it has, that instead of releasing carbon to the atmosphere, it captures it, since it is a plant and it's like a high concentration of carbon by each pole of bamboo, because that's what they do, and then they fix it to the ground. And it's a plant that can work with some other plants, symbiotic relation, where they can provide the nutrients that the other plants lack. So it's like a really special plant. It's not like a plague, something that we can just say like, okay, yes, you are having this material, but on the way you are like chopping the jungle, or you are taking down some other trees or some other plants. It is not. It's like a really good companion for other plants. And also, it's good to say it regenerates the soil. It's also well known to be put where the erosion has come to places, and the bamboo is like really good to recreating all the bacteria, all the ingredients needed like to regenerate a place. Also, they can hold the river currents and flows, holding them. Also, they are like really good barriers, hold for the inundations and water flowing. Multiple benefits that this has. And also, they will keep adapting, because I think we are just starting like to really see the potential that it can be done. No? So I will answer a question that just went to the chat. I think because it's really important, because this structure, it has many layers. As you can see, it's like a basket in the inside, with this knitting and the structural beams that goes all over. There is like a skeleton. Then it goes the basket knit, and then we use this bamboo because it's everything the same. Like the pole, it comes everything. It comes the strings, like the little slats, maybe that are like the ones that form the beams. Then they also do the knitting, and then there's another way to do the bamboo, which is like you split it and you make like a panel. Let's say like a triple, like how do you say it, like, yeah, like it's completely plain. So that is what is on top of the knitting. And then on top of that, what we are doing in our buildings is that we put a layer of like fabric. Like it is a fabric that it goes with a waterproofing based on caucho, which is like the tires, the rubber. So it is like really elastic. So it goes all over the bamboo layers, and then we put the slats on top, which are like the main view of the building. The Downside of this kind of technique is that, as I was telling you, the biggest enemy of bamboo is like to be exposed to humidity and to the direct sunlight. So of course, every client that chooses like to be with with exposed bamboo on the cladding, they should know that they will have like to give maintenance like 2 or 3 times a year just to keep it irritated, because it is not that it will become rotten or something. The thing is, if you don't treat it properly with the maintenance every 2 or 3 months, every 3 or 4 months, sorry, you will start seeing that it becomes a little bit fragile. It starts like to getting dry, which makes that the fibers will start to fall apart. I mean, in the long run, not immediately. So what you need to do is like to put something that will keep it moistured, which can be like in the best way. The way to do it is with natural oil, such as I always forget how to say it, linaza, which is like natural oil that can be like used on these structures. Of course, it's not the number one option for most of the clients, especially if they are like in a commercial way, because it's expensive. It's not as cheap as other options. But there are also other products that are in a way not that natural, but they are still like under good standards, not to be pollute with the atmosphere, or to release some nocive particles, which are like good, and they can also be put instead of the oil. So this keeps the color, this keeps the health of the bamboo on top also good, so they can last longer than if you don't do anything, no? So yeah. And then I think the main point of this introduction that I'm trying to do with the bamboo is to make it like a whole. It's not just like, hey, I like the material and let's design and let's see how it works. It's like a really immersive process. I think that most of the time, and I'm just my experience, in my opinion, in the university, in the schools, we are taught like to be kind, as an architect, you are kind of separate of the process. You are like the head and you are the ideas, and then because everybody knows how to build with concrete or iron or whatever, then you take the experts and they do, and they will find out, because there are like many books about it. There will be no mistake on building with this kind of techniques, and it's like really easy, like even for you as an architect, like, hey, I designed it and then I don't get involved on it at all. In this case, I can tell you that it is really hard just to do that, like just to try to design without knowing the material, without knowing the people that creates it, because it's the most important thing. Because sometimes you can be able to do some shapes, and sometimes you don't, and sometimes you will have the people that will know how to do it, and sometimes you will not. So you will have to adapt on what's the material that you have, what's the people that you have, and also what's your boundaries. Where are you at in the process? Because it's like really important, like to start small, like start doing probably like scale models, and then you will see how the material works, and then you can like grow it, no? One thing that I always like to say, and I think is really important, because as I was telling you, that we became specialized as human beings, no? Like we got divided on, hey, I know how to do this, specifically this, no? But back on the days, the people used to do everything. They used to be in the fields, like having the harvesting or doing things, or then they had to build their own houses, and then they have to go with the animals, and they had like many different professions, let's say, no? Now it's like really hard, like to have the time to go and do it. But these people, like back in centuries ago, or even like thousands of years ago, they didn't have any structural engineer or any papers that will say that this will work. The only thing that has been always working is the geometry. So that's really amazing about bamboo, because you, one of my sayings is, if it can hold in the scale model, probably it will hold. I mean, I'm almost sure that it will hold in a big scale. And why it's important and why I'm mentioning it? because I think we forget. We tend to go and say like, hey, to do something creative is like to break the mold and try to make everything like crazy. And I mean, you can do it as long as you obey the laws of geometry that are contained in the nature itself, which are contained in the trees, which are contained in the flowers and how they grow, how they bloom. So it's the same here. Like you have to obey these laws, and it will make your life easier. And I can tell you that most of our designs, they are designed from the geometry, and then we just pass it to the structural engineers, and sometimes they just add a little bit like for protection, like, hey, put some steel here, or hey, this connection, do it this way instead of this one. But the main shape remains, because when it's done by the geometry that some people call sacred geometry, it will hold itself, and it will be a safe structure like to be in, even though if you don't have the paper that will say it, it is like really easy like to know, since you see it, that will not fall apart because it is well sustained, no? So I like to share with you this kind of mix of materials, because of course it's really beautiful just to build with bamboo, but bamboo is also beautiful to be mixed with some other materials. In the image on the left, you will see it was one of our first construction with mixed techniques. This is a super adobe structure that was, all the walls were made out of this super adobe technique. And then we add the skeleton, I like to say the skeleton of the bamboo all over, like for the roof and for the details, because it gives you so much freedom of shape that we could get these shapes that it will be really hard like to do it without concrete, because this construction has no concrete on it, just in the footings. It has like a little concrete with the stones, but the rest of it is just earth, bamboo, and lime. So that's and well, and sascav, no, which is like an earth material which mixed with the lime, it got like really hard as concrete. So you can see the results are like aesthetically beautiful, and also we can also mix the techniques, because here in Mexico we are like really used to build with what we call zacate, which is like this kind of grass, also the dry grass that can be put on as cladding and, in the roofs, and it's the palapa. We call it palapa here, and it's like a really common technique to roof like light structures. So with bamboo, what is different is that we have different shapes, and then it adapts to the shape of the building. So I would like to mention that, because as an architect and as a builder, what we need is like the people who know how to do it. Because here, at least Mexico, is still a country where there's a lot of people that know how to build with many different techniques, and they're not used to bamboo sometimes, but they know principles on how things work. Like this kind of thinking that, hey, if I put with this, it won't work, or it will work. So we adapted the people that used to build palapas with wood. Then they saw our structure and they say, okay, yeah, it's really easy because you have already like a basket, so I can just put the material on it and it will hold. It's perfect. So for them, it's also surprisingly good habit. And also the people that is working with us right now, they already knew how to work with bamboo, because they live in a place called Veracruz, where we get the bamboo from in Mexico, because it's where the most of the plantations are for this structural bamboo that I was mentioning. They already know something about it, because they cut it, they use it for their own houses, some other things. And then what we do is just to put together what they bring, what we bring also with the creativity and of our projects, and they say like, hey, this is what we are going to do. We explain the project. They also get excited about a different thing. So that's why it's also something that I personally think that is really good about this kind of materials, because again, I'm not saying that I hate like a conventional construction or whatever. I mean, it's also good because it gets this possibility of having a house like to so many people that otherwise maybe they will be homeless or something. But the thing is how the the artists, because they are artists who build with bamboo, they can feel proud of what they do, because what they are doing is like a piece of art instead of just a house or just regular house or construction. So that gives this additional value because I love when I see they share the pictures of what they are doing every day. They send it to their families. They post it on their social media. So really different, like for a normal, let's say, no? Okay. I wanted to share this one to you because it's like the main example on how it works. What we do is mainly we work with the skeleton, as I was saying. On the picture on the right, you will see that there are all these curved beams that we will get along if we have the opportunity to teach on site how to do these elements. They are formed by it's like a laminated beam because we put one slat against the other. So we create like really strong pieces of beams. So they create the main skeleton. Then what it really gives the strength is the knitting, the basket knitting that we can throw these slats from one side to another, holding all the pieces together and working as a whole because this structure they don't work as the orthogonal conventional structures where you have like your frames and the beam is working differently to the columns and then the column receives some part of the load of the column and then you will have to prepare it to and in this case they work as a whole. They work as a one piece completely because they are all knit together. So that makes it like really strong and light, especially in these areas where our main concerns in natural disasters are the hurricanes. And the best way to avoid hurricanes is to let the way in for the wind. So you don't have to fight against it. You just have to let it go and do not present resistance. So they will hold. These structures are also thought be hurricane resistant. And in case, because lately we have had some earthquakes here that were normal, but we're still we're starting to have them. So this is also like really good against earthquakes because it's so flexible. It's not like trying to resist in a unique shape that you will try to keep. In this case, it can bend a little bit. It will move with the waves of the earthquake, and they will hold still. So that's why it is really important. And then you can see also it's not all about this technique that I was telling you about the slats. They can also be built beautiful things with the poles, which are like the raw material, let's say, on how you can find the bamboo mainly. And of course, you can do like many you can see here, no? Like these are like structural and aesthetical columns that are holding all this warehouse together. And it's also combined with some other materials. In this case, are like containers that were attached with this structure of bamboo, and then we had like the roofing on it, and it's like modern at the same time as natural, which was the main point on this project, like to give this impression. So the possibilities are huge. Also, this is one of my favorite projects. Is the one that you saw with the grass in the outside, but in the inside, it creates this atmosphere. It's a yoga shala, and I love it because I love Gothic architecture. And bamboo always let shapes like to come. I was telling you this was like a layout, was like a geometric pattern that we put together with an octagon. Then like just to connect all the dots, and we were like playing with it, and it created this beautiful geometry that you can feel in the inside, and then not just because I work with the material, it's like really different. The energy that you can feel inside one of these kind of buildings, that one that you have in like a square um, studio where you can take the same class, for example, but in this case, you can feel that you are like completely in a temple. I think maybe like yeah, like a Gothic architecture. And then I will like to finish this quick presentation with this view because I always try to make the kind of architecture like to fit to I mean at the time that it's beautiful to make it belong to the place that it stays, no? And the bamboo let you do that because in this case, I mean, it was like a concept. It's replicating like a wave, no, on the sea, and I wouldn't build it in another material instead of bamboo, because bamboo, it let us explore this kind of shapes without spending a lot of money on it, because it normally will use like a lot of framework, like to do a concrete, or a steel. It will be a lot of steel all over, like to create these shapes. And this is just bamboo, holding it, the whole structure. And as you can see, it's right on the sea, and it is still holding there big winds, and it will adapt to the conditions of the weather. Of course, if there's like a huge hurricane, as any other structure, it can be damaged. But really trust the material. It has been proven that it really lasts a lot. Of course, it doesn't come with the guarantee of you are not going to do it and do anything to it again, as many of the buildings are promised to. Like, hey, you forget about maintenance forever. And no, in this case, I always say, in the natural materials, you will have to become a part of this building. You will have to learn how to identify what's going on, like to see it, to appreciate it, to see if something is odd, and you will have to pay attention to it. And still, it's like a very young construction style, let's say, nowadays is taking this, and we would like to increase the community, because where more minds are put into the same systems, I'm sure that we can develop even better shapes, better systems, better things to happen with this material and for the others. So that's all for today. And I'm sure I'm still want like to talk about bamboo, because there's a lot of things to say about it. And this that I show you is like the really like a few things that I can share. Of course, we can share some of our portfolio, so you can see the shapes that you can get with that. And we would love to have you in the on-site sessions that we are putting together, so you can feel, because the other thing is just to feel the material on how it feels like to manipulate it, to work and play with it. So thank you so much.
Gracias, Miguel. We have just about 10 minutes left, and there's so many questions, so I'm just going to super quickly talk about how to get involved. So this is a few options. I'm most excited about, as what Miguel mentioned, the on-site learning courses. So we will actually be building on-site with bamboo at the Macario project. If you would like to get involved, you can go to the Greener Space Builds website and you can sign up. If you want to understand what those courses will be, they're from 1 week to 4 week packages. They're all inclusive. So we'll feed you, we'll give you a place to stay. We'll give you training on site to keep everyone safe, and you will help build this project. Obviously, we're very excited about the opportunities to capture a lot of data, to fill in a lot of data gaps. If you would like to register early and get a 10% discount, we're offering that for a limited time. Again, go to the website and express your interest. If you're just enthusiastic about what we do, we also have an option for gift contributions. So if you want to help us build this, there's an option where you can actually give a gift. It helps to support the Train the Trainer programs and some of the materials that we need on site. I also want to give a shout out to our next online session that is going to be July 16th with Eduardo and Santiago, who are going to be talking about round Earth. The registration for that is open and live on the website, so you can join our third session. But I'm going to quickly jump back over to Miguel and everybody else who might have some questions for the Q&A, and I'll go back to a pretty picture because I think it'll be nice to have questions as we look at this really beautiful project. And Laurel, I think maybe if you've got some questions in there, we could start with that.
Yes, let's see. So we had a question about this was Roberto's question actually about for structural purposes. Is there a minimum wall width you should be looking for, or does it have to do with the particular type of bamboo species or both?
Yeah, I think it's we have tested the different species in we have tested the old hammy and the wild one angustifolia, and it depends. Of course, the work the that you give the load, and then we put the bamboo necessary, let's say, or we can work it in the statical way, which we propose the poles or kind of a bamboo that we would, and then we calculate if they're suitable for that kind of loads that the
So speaking of calculating for loads, Robert, I'm happy to invite you to, if you want to come off mute and ask your question, but you had a couple questions about testing for structural properties with the different manufacturing methods. I know you'd mentioned, Miguel, a couple different ways that the product can be.
Okay. So I will they will ask the question.
Yeah, Robert, did you want to ask specifically? You had a couple about structural analysis method and connection details.
Oh yeah, I'm not used to using Zoom, so I hope you can hear me.
We gotcha.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
These structures are amazing. They're beautiful. But
Thanks so much.
my stops when I think about how I would structurally analyze them. There are ways to go, but mostly your structures are shells or curved structures. I don't see anything that's got like a roof that's horizontal and flat or wall is vertical and flat. So I'm wondering if any way you could do that.
Sure. Yeah. The thing is, we mainly have been specialized on this kind of shapes that are like really organic, and as you said, it's like shells, no? But yes, it is really common to build with the poles of bamboo, and then we can do what I really like is like to do composed columns, which are like you put like 4 or 6 different poles together, so they can work a whole like a column and resist a lot of load. I can give you the numbers because I don't have it right now, but because we have the from the Yucatan University. But it is a good resistance. It's similar to wood when it's used like a vertical poles. So you can also do like a roofing. We have put like some slabs on top of it, concrete slabs with the bamboo, like we call it, how do you say, like the frame? Like when you put a concrete slab, you put the frame, no? But in this case, it's like keeping it there so you can just see it all the time. And then you pour the concrete on top and it will hold like big loads. I mean, what I've seen is like to a 3 to 4 stories building in Colombia, which is like a little bit old, also like 100 years old, and it's still standing with this technique. And they have been patching it with the different things, no? Like they used to have like this kind of traditional slab made out of dirt and then clay, like tiles, and then they remove it and put a concrete slab and still standing there. So
that's amazing. Mostly, I'd like to know if there's any textbooks on how to design. I haven't ever seen anything yet.
yeah, there are a few. As I was telling, it's like really young technique right now, and there are few people like looking at it, like I mean, every day more. But there are many books about it. I will share with you gladly like some of the titles, so you can start. There are like a really good. There's like a guy that you should follow. It's called Georg Stamm, and he is like the authority, let's say, in structural with bamboo. He's a professional carpenter. He's German, but he's been living in Colombia for 30 years, and he has like really good books about it. And he into like a structural engineer, let's say, with the years. Probably he doesn't have the title, but he works with universities and with many structural engineers that can validate whatever his models say.
I'd like to get a list of some of those books if you could forward it to Anjanette, or maybe you could forward it to me, possibly.
Yeah, we can get some resources up for folks. I know from my own research, some of them are only in Spanish, but the Colombia resources, when I was working with Miguel quite some time ago, I went down the rabbit hole of bamboo, and I have never been the same since. It is quite amazing. And the Center for Research that they have set up in Colombia is really amazing. So I think what I'm trying to do with a Greener Space Builds and the people on this call and people who are interested is to start collecting that interest so that we can have a similar effect in, the United States and other places where I'd like to see the advancement of these materials instead of just these isolated cases such as in Colombia or such as in Bali that have been able to advance. We have a few in the States to navigate, but it's with grassroots enthusiasm. So folks on the call, that'll be hopefully some resources that we can share post post-session. And of course, the best way you can get involved is come on down to the site. So start building together with your own hands. And if you've been bored sitting behind a desk, here's your opportunity to come and join us on site. I don't mean to be taking over the talk or the chat here, but we do have 1 minute left. So we might have maybe one last thought, or if there's a burning question that we really think needs to be asked. And I don't mind staying a little late, but we have ourselves 1 hour for the call. So I'd like to keep it at that.
Let's do it again.
Indeed.
July 16th. The link is in the chat, and we'll send out in a follow-up as well to register for the next one. And I will also just make a note that if you're interested and weren't on the previous call or have interest in a charrette for this project, there is one planned. So it's a limited opportunity to weigh in on the early stages of design of the project. So send a message to myself or Ingenet if you're interested to join on that. And otherwise, make sure you're subscribed to the Greener Space Builds website and make sure that you're registering for each of these Meet the Instructor series so you can get all this insight before we are on site together next year. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Gracias a todos.
Chao. Gracias a todos también.